A Colombian woman claims she was raised by monkeys after being kidnapped and abandoned in the jungle as a young child.
Alexander the Great, Napoleon, and Hitler all shared the same phobia, ailurophobia, an extreme, irrational fear of cats. Nelson Mandela was not removed from the United States terrorism watch list until 2008, 14 years after winning the Nobel Peace Prize. Charles Darwin ate every animal he ever discovered. He was a scientist and a food adventurer simultaneously. In 1726, an English woman convinced multiple doctors she had given birth to a litter of rabbits.
A Vietnamese man had surgery 18 years ago, and doctors just found a pair of surgical scissors still inside his abdomen.
In 2015, Spanish workers destroyed a 6,000-year-old Neolithic tomb, mistaking it for a broken...
A school library book was checked out in the early 1900s, and the borrower's granddaughter returned it 120 years later.
An Australian bank had a glitch that placed no limit on one man's overdraft. He quietly spent $2 million over several years before being caught.
The world's tallest church in Germany is being slowly eroded by men urinating on its walls. Uric acid is dissolving the stonework.
A zoo in Japan spent 4 years trying to breed a pair of hyenas before discovering both animals were male.
In 2016, a French worker's employer for $360,000 because his job was too boring.
In 2013, a New York family paid $3 for a bowl at a garage sale, then discovered it was an 11th century.
In 2010, Iran's government banned ponytails, mullets, and elaborate spikes as decadent Western hairstyles.
A man named Jackass actually tried to sue the TV show and movie Jackass for $10 million because they stole his name.
Assets. In China, some families pay matchmakers to find spouses for deceased relatives, ghost marriages.
A scientist cracked his knuckles on only one hand for 60 years to prove it doesn't cause arthritis.
In 1948, a man robbed a bank by giving cyanide to every employee. In 2015, a doctor was sentenced to 45 years in prison for giving chemotherapy to patients who didn't actually have cancer, for money.
A 67-year-old Polish adventurer completed the longest open-water kayak crossing of the Atlantic, from Lisbon to Florida, in 6 months.
In 2013, fake hairy leg stockings became a fashion hit in China, worn specifically to deter unwanted male attention.
When a renowned British Army surgeon died in 1865, doctors discovered the surgeon had been a woman disguised as a man for decades.
A tomato plant was found growing on a remote volcanic island, and it sprouted from the feces of a scientist who visited and relieved themselves there. During WW2, twins with a Jewish father were separated at birth, one raised as a Nazi, one raised as a Jew. They met again 25 years later.
In Florida, you can legally smash a car window to rescue a pet or child overheating inside. It is written into state law.
A Paraguayan couple moved in together in 1933. After 80 years and 8 children, the 100.
In 2015, a man dressed as an armored truck driver convinced store staff to hand over $75,000 in cash. It worked.
A U.S. president was shot in the chest during a campaign speech and still finished the entire speech before going to hospital.
An inventor was killed by his own invention, the Webb rotary press, when his foot got caught in the machinery he created.
Scientists can locate entire penguin colonies from space by tracking dark patches of penguin poop visible on the ice from satellites. Some sharks, Komodo dragons, and turkeys are capable of virgin births, reproducing with no male involvement whatsoever.
During mating, lions have intercourse up to 40 times per day for several consecutive days. 40 times a day.
A cat, nicknamed Unsinkable Sam, survived the sinking of 3 separate ships during World War II.
In 1967, the Nigerian Civil War stopped for 2 days colony because both sides wanted to watch a famous soccer player's exhibition match.
A mathematician could calculate how many seconds a person had been alive just from knowing their age in his head at age 4.
Ultimate Frisbee is officially recognized by the International Olympic Committee. It is a legitimate Olympic sport.
In Virginia, it's illegal to hunt on Sundays, except for raccoons, which can be hunted until 2 a.m. Raccoons get a specific legal exception.
A survey found that 9% of Americans are afraid of zombies, a creature that does not exist.
A territorial dispute between India and Bangladesh was resolved by global warming, and the island they were fighting over simply disappeared underwater.
The head of the CIA had his personal AOL email account hacked by a teenager in 2015.
The director of U.S. intelligence.
A rat can survive longer without water than a camel. The desert survival champion is beaten by the animal everyone fears.
The company hired to build part of the U.S.-Mexico border wall was fined $5 million for hiring undocumented immigrant workers to build it.
A single drop of beaked sea snake venom is lethal enough to kill 3 adult.
The Hindenburg was filled with 7 million cubic feet of highly flammable hydrogen gas and still had a smoking room on board.
The Golden Gate Bridge cables are long enough to wrap around the entire Earth more than 3 times at the equator.
A high-security prison in Norway gives every inmate a flat-screen TV, ensuite shower, and fluffy white.
In the United States, ransom payments to kidnappers are fully tax-deductible business expenses. Kidnapping is accounted for in the tax code.
For centuries in China, women's feet were deliberately broken and bound into hoof-like shapes.
Roman Emperor Caligula officially appointed his horse as a senator. The horse held an official government position.
In 2011, a monkey was arrested in Pakistan for crossing the border with India. The monkey was formally charged.
This cotton candy was invented by a dentist. The man who created the world's most tooth-destroying snack was a dentist.
Lobsters are scientifically considered the cockroaches of the sea. The premium seafood on your plate is essentially a fancy cockroach.
Cleopatra, the last pharaoh of Egypt, was actually Greek, not Egyptian. She descended from one of Alexander the Great's generals.
Cockroaches appeared on Earth 120 million years before the dinosaurs. They watched the dinosaurs come and go.
Heroin was originally developed to treat people addicted to morphine. One addictive drug created to cure another.
There's a real fish species officially called the slippery dick. It is a legitimate scientific name recognized worldwide.
Construction workers in Brazil once cemented a car into the pavement because its driver refused to move it.
Permanently.
The world's oldest hotel has been continuously operating since 705 AD. Over 130.
A man escaped from prison the night before his execution and was beaten to death in a bar fight the same night.
The world's first labor strike in recorded history was held at a construction site for an Egyptian pyramid. Workers downed tools for better rations.
In Oregon, a man was jailed and fined $1,500 for collecting rainwater on his own property.
The state considers rainwater its property.
In Texas, it is completely legal to shoot Bigfoot if you ever find it. The creature is not a protected species.
In 2011, a woman paid $10,000 for a completely invisible, non-existent piece of artwork. She received nothing. That was the art.
In 2006, an FBI informant pretending to be a radical Muslim was planted in a mosque, and
In 2013, a man bought a house next to his ex-wife just to install a giant middle finger statue facing her window.
Nigerian police once arrested a goat suspected of attempted armed robbery, claiming it was a criminal who transformed himself using black magic.
Part of the White House was built by enslaved workers. The most famous house in America has this in its foundations.
A British teacher in Sudan was arrested because her class named their teddy bear Muhammad. She faced 40 lashes for blasphemy.
The world's oldest known creature, a 507-year-old mollusk, was accidentally killed by the scientists who discovered it.
The world's biggest family lives together in India. One man with 39 wives and 94 children, all under one roof.
There's a toilet-themed restaurant in Taiwan where food is served in miniature toilet bowls. It's a real restaurant with a waiting list.
Gandhi was nominated for the Nobel Peace Prize 5 times and never won it. 5 nominations, 0 awards.
Iran once arrested 14 squirrels for spying.
14 squirrels detained
for espionage.
Jehovah's Witnesses don't celebrate birthdays because the only 2 birthday parties mentioned in the Bible both ended in murder.
When Louis Pasteur was working on the rabies vaccine, the protocol was, if anyone in the lab got infected, they were to be shot immediately.
2 actors in separate productions have died playing Judas Fromm after accidentally hanging themselves for real during his execution scene.
In 2006, a woman lit matches on a plane to cover up a smell, causing an emergency landing and being banned from all U.S. flights.
The Pentagon has an official plan for combating a zombie apocalypse. It is a real, declassified government document.
Which fact was the most unbelievable? Drop the number below. Subscribe, Keith. More drops are already coming.